if there's one big pet peeve I have when I go to the movies and watch a movie, it's when it just stops everything just to have blatant product placement. I just think it's hackneyed and just overdone. I do like Skittles, though, so I guess I'll give them a pass. So Shazam! Fury of the Gods is the sequel to Shazam, which came out a few years ago. It is also part of the DC Extended Universe, or the DCEU, as some people have dubbed it on the internet, which I don't ever think was an official title, but that's fine. And that the fact that the DC Universe is going to be rebooted on film, maybe, or soft rebooted, again, different story for a different day. We are here to talk about this film and this film alone. And this film is a lot of fun. I had a great time watching this film. Zachary Levi as the main hero, Shazam, is wonderful as always. He's charming, he's funny, and there's even a little bit of emotional depth there, which I really am into. And the main story here essentially is that there are two children of one of the Olympian gods who come to Earth in order to get the powers of their dad back, the daughters of Atlas. So Atlas's kids come to take the powers back from the Shazam family because they essentially have the powers of the gods. And so it's the Shazam family versus the daughters of Atlas, as you've seen in the trailer. Helen Mirren plays Hespera, and Lucy Liu plays Calypso. I thought they were both wonderful. I actually think Helen Mirren's performance might be one of the better ones of the film. She gets a lot of fun stuff to do. And Lucy Liu, on the other hand, though, I don't think gets to stretch her acting chops as much. And it kind of bummed me out, but I still think they all did. They were really formidable bad guys, and I was actually interested in their dynamic. I think it could have been a little more developed, but it is what it is. Then also you have thrown in there, returning cast members. Jack Dylan Grazer as Freddy. He was the great comedic relief of the first one. He was charming, endearing, and we're along with this kid who loves superheroes and was kind of, talking faster than every other character. He was smarter than every other character. He's kind of making up for his disability. And he was just a fun, wonderful character. And he does the same thing here in this one. I think he shines. He's great. And then he gets to work a lot with Rachel Zegler, who was in, I believe she was just in the Spielberg version of West Side Story. She was great in that. And in this one, I won't say what character she plays here because I was kind of not in on what her character was, so that might be a spoiler. I guess you could look it up. I just won't say. But she's in this film, and I think she's absolutely wonderful too. I wish she'd have a little bit more to do, but again, wonderful. This whole cast is extremely pleasant. There's no bad performance here whatsoever between the kid version of the Shazam characters and the Shazam characters themselves, as well as the bad guys and some other ancillary characters that pop in and out. Everybody's wonderful here. I had a great time watching them and their chemistry. Now, a lot of my problems with this film, I've seen a lot of people complain that the third act was where their big problem was. And I'd like to argue that, for me at least, I had some problems with the first act. It was kind of messy, kind of trying to get everything set up, getting us back up to speed. It was just throwing a lot at us. And I don't know if I was just overwhelmed by the amount of stuff they were trying to get us to do, or if my expectations were in such a place that I was kind of not feeling it at first. But once it hits the second act, for me, this thing just soars. It hits everything that we loved about the first one. Everything is running on all cylinders here. There's great fights, there's great tension and drama, and they do a lot of great interesting set pieces which make it stand out from the first film, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And then we get to the third act, where a lot of people, like I said, had the problems. I could see those problems. They just didn't bother me as much. I thought the third act was really strong, actually. There's a couple things like Deus Ex cameo, which I won't spoil, towards the end of the film. And then there's also the product placement, like I mentioned earlier, which was kind of, they'd set it up, I guess, technically, but it still felt a little weirdness for that product placement. And I'm not going to say what exactly the product placement is related to in this. You'll just have to see it to find out. Overall, I did enjoy this film. I don't know if I loved it as much as the first one, but I did thoroughly enjoy this one. If it's not on par, it is just a hair below the first one, maybe. And it could be better. I guess I do feel like I kind of want to see this again just to, see if maybe my anticipation and my expectations that I had going in, now that I've seen the film, maybe those have been adjusted so I see it again and maybe have a clearer picture of how I feel about it. But, based on seeing this one time, I did at the end go, I enjoyed it. And the group I went with, everybody seemed to enjoy it as well and had a good time. There's a lot of great laughs. There's particularly one scene it might be one of my favorite scenes in a superhero movie ever. I won't know, maybe not top 10, but it might be in the top 20 superhero movie scenes. But it is Helen Mirren reading a letter from Shazam, and it is absolutely hilarious. It's a great gag that they, set up and pay off. It is so much fun. If you're not a fan of the superhero movies, I could see people complaining about like this being, same old formulaic superhero fare. But I would like to argue, I enjoyed Ant-Man and the Wasp, and it's apples and oranges comparing that to this film. But a lot of Ant-Man and the Wasp was filmed on the volume stage and the green screen, so it felt very CGI heavy. It was very CGI heavy, and it was just bombarding your eyeballs and your just overload on the screen. With Shazam, there's a lot of special effects, but what I enjoyed was there was a lot of great real locations they filmed at that I think grounded this film in such a way that made it a little bit more of a pleasant experience than watching Ant-Man. Not that Ant-Man was a bad experience. Like I said, I enjoyed Ant-Man and the Wasp. It was refreshing to have a superhero movie that, while it did have a lot of visual effects in those components to it, I didn't feel as they were smacking me over the head with it, which is cool. And they got a CGI dragon flying around and a bunch of other creatures in this film, which I'd also like to mention. Director David Sandberg is awesome. He's a great follow on Twitter and on Instagram and his YouTube channel. He is just a really great, interesting personality that's really fun to follow. And he's always had this horror element to his filmmaking because, he was known for doing Lights Out, Annabelle Creation, and now here he is with the 2 Shazam movies. And he's found a way in these 2 Shazam movies to insert just some really grotesque-esque monsters and creature design, which is so jarring in a way from like the tone of this couple of movies that even in the first one, there's a scene in the first movie where there's a bunch of demons and you're just like, that didn't feel like this was part of the same movie. That kind of happens again in this one. I think there's a lot of outstanding creature designs. And again, I won't say it didn't fit the world, but it did. It was a little jarring, for a minute. I mean, I grew accustomed to it, and I actually thought the creature design was really well done. It did feel slightly out of place here, again. But whatever. I think Sandberg, he's got this weird but fun, great juxtaposition between that element and then like the superhero-ness that we're kind of used to in those films. And I guess I've been rambling a little bit. So here it is. My grade is going to be a solid B. I wanted to go higher on this, but after sitting down and kind of breaking things down, it's where I'm at after a first viewing. I'm curious to see if I go again, if this will go up and how much further up it could go. But I would highly recommend this. I don't know if it's going to get the box office returns that the studio wants, and I would hope that this film would get, because I actually want to see a third one. And the future, like I said at the beginning, the future of this franchise is kind of in flux because of what the new leadership of the DC universe is going to be doing, which I'm excited about. But we'll see what they end up doing. But as far as its own standalone movie, go check this out. It's a lot of fun, and stay through the end. So there's 2 post-credit scenes, and I will say, you've kept up to date on some of the DC stuff in the films and the TV side of things. The mid-credit scene is so fun. It's so good. But then and there is a second one at the very end of the credits. If you're not into the Shazam stuff, and if you aren't familiar with what was happening in the first movie, there is a little the cameo / second post-credit scene, whatever you want to call it, is a little more inside baseball, I guess, or inside comic book. Like, if you're not really familiar with everything in the backstory and a lot of the villains of Shazam, that one might not hit you as well. But I still think if you're a comic nerd, I thought it was cool. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a cute little way to end the movie there, little stinger. But so that's my review for Shazam! Fury of the Gods, guys. What did you think? Do you want to go see this film? Are you excited about Shazam? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you could also please hit that like button, the subscribe button, hit the little bell notification to be notified whenever I drop a new video. And as always, guys, until the next review, I'll be seeing you.